Soviet Olympic athletes competed in 9 summer games and finished first in the gold medal count at 6 of them. Coaches from other countries kept asking the same question: how do they stay so calm? These athletes weren't just physically prepared, they had an entire system for performing under pressure that most of the world never learned about. I'm going to show you the 3 techniques at the core of that system. Plus, I'll give you a pre-performance writing exercise that a 2011 study published in Science found helpful for anxious test takers. Though I should mention up front that a major replication project in 2018 couldn't reproduce the result. I'll explain why it's still worth trying. Here's what most people do before a high-pressure moment. They tell themselves to calm down. They take a deep breath and hope for the best. The Soviets discovered that this approach almost never works. Your nervous system doesn't take orders from your inner monologue. A man named Avsenty Puni, the founder of Soviet sports psychology, identified that athletes need to reach a specific mental state before competition. He called it boivaya gotovnost, readiness to fight. Not relaxed, not pumped up, ready. And readiness has 5 components, one of which is optimal emotional arousal. Not too calm, not too tense, right in the middle. Decades later, in 1984, psychologist Roy Baumeister published research showing why pressure kills performance. He found that under high stakes, people shift from automatic execution to conscious self-monitoring. You start overthinking every step of what you normally do without thinking. Your body knows how to perform, but your anxious mind grabs the controls and ruins it. The Soviets had already built a practical system to prevent exactly this. So how did they do it? That's what this video covers. The first technique is called idiomotor training. Soviet athletes practiced it before every major competition. They would sit with their eyes closed and mentally rehearse their entire routine. Not just the outcome, the full technical execution, movement by movement, in vivid sensory detail. They saw the arena. They felt their muscles contract. They heard the crowd. The goal was to run a complete mental version of the performance, so realistic that the nervous system couldn't fully distinguish it from practice. Think about it like this. A 2024 study in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience confirmed what Soviet coaches observed decades earlier. When you vividly imagine performing a movement, your brain activates many of the same motor regions as during actual execution. The overlap isn't perfect, but it's significant enough that the brain treats a vivid rehearsal as partial experience. Here's what that means for you. You're probably not an Olympic gymnast. You don't have a routine to rehearse movement by movement, but you do have an opening. Every high-pressure moment has a beginning, and modern performance psychology suggests that the opening is where most people freeze. So take the Soviet principle of full mental rehearsal and apply it where it matters most for you. Before your next presentation, exam, or difficult conversation, find 2 minutes alone. Close your eyes. Put yourself at the very start. See the room you're about to walk into. Notice the lighting. Feel the floor under your feet. Hear the background noise. Now see yourself beginning. Your posture, your first words. Run the first minute in real time. Not fast-forwarded, real time. If your mind jumps ahead, pull it back to the opening. Do this twice. The whole thing takes about 2 minutes. Here's the thing. Once you've made it through the opening without freezing, your nervous system tends to shift out of threat mode. You move from manual control back to automatic. The Soviets rehearsed everything, but for most everyday situations, rehearsing the start is enough to break the freeze. I know what you're thinking. 2 minutes of imagining a room is going to help me not choke? That's you right now, and I get it. But remember, this isn't wishful thinking. The neuroscience is clear. Your brain processes vivid rehearsal and real experience through overlapping circuits. 2 minutes of specific, sensory-rich rehearsal gives your brain a head start. When the real moment comes, it's not completely new, it's a partial repeat. But mental rehearsal only works if your body isn't locked up with tension. And this brings us to the second technique. This one has 2 separate origins that people mix up, so let me be precise. The tension release method I'm about to describe is called progressive muscle relaxation. It was developed by an American physician named Edmund Jacobson in the 1920s and published in 1938. It's not a Soviet invention. What is Soviet is the context in which it was used. Soviet sports psychologists, including Filatov and his colleagues, built comprehensive pre-competition preparation systems that included multiple relaxation methods. Filatov's own system, called emotional volitional training, was primarily based on auto-suggestion. Athletes would repeat specific verbal formulas designed to induce calm, confidence, and physical recovery. One of Filatov's formulas went like this: you are feeling calm. You relax your muscles. Calmness and relaxation spread to the nervous system. You feel pleasant warmth and heaviness in all your body. These weren't affirmations. They were physiological commands delivered during a receptive state. Alongside systems like Filatov's, Soviet training camps also used Jacobson-style tension release exercises as a practical tool for immediate pre-competition stress management. The technique itself is Western in origin. The systematic integration into athlete preparation is where the Soviets added value. Here's what you're gonna do. This is the Jacobson method, adapted for speed. In the last 5 minutes before your high-pressure moment, find a private spot. A bathroom stall works. Clench both fists as tight as you can. Hold for 5 seconds. Release and breathe out slowly. Raise both shoulders to your ears. 5 seconds. Release and breathe out. Clench your jaw. 5 seconds. Release and breathe out. Tighten your stomach. 5 seconds. Release and breathe out. The whole sequence takes about 40 seconds. After the final release, stand still for 10 seconds and just breathe. Research on progressive muscle relaxation shows that deliberate tension followed by release measurably reduces muscle tension and shifts the nervous system toward parasympathetic activation. That's the recovery mode, the calm mode. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm supposed to clench my fists in a bathroom stall before a job interview. That's me. That's what I sound like. And yes, that's exactly what you're going to do. Because the alternative is walking in with your shoulders at your ears and your jaw locked, sending your brain a constant stress signal for the next 30 minutes. 40 seconds of looking silly alone, or 30 minutes of underperforming. Your choice. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You've rehearsed the opening, you've released the tension, but there's one more piece, and this one ties the whole system together. Pune's fifth component of boevaya gotovnost was self-control, which he defined as the ability to control one's own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. He trained this as a general psychological skill through discipline, goal setting, and self-regulation exercises. Now, I want to be honest about something. Pune's concept of self-control was broad. It was about character development as much as performance technique. He wasn't specifically talking about where you point your attention during a competition. But separately, modern research on choking has arrived at a finding that fits remarkably well with what Pune was after. Baumeister's 1984 research and later work by Sion Beilock at the University of Chicago found that when skilled performers direct attention inward toward their own mechanics and feelings, their automatic processes break down. That's choking. But when they direct attention outward toward the task itself, performance stays stable even under extreme pressure. Beilock calls this the self-focused theory of choking. The Soviets and the modern researchers arrived at compatible conclusions from different directions. The Soviets trained self-control as a broad capacity. Modern science identified the specific mechanism. Internal attention causes choking, external attention prevents it. You can use both insights. Here's what that means for you. The moment you walk into the room, the moment the exam starts, the moment the pressure hits, give yourself one concrete instruction. What is the first thing I need to do right now? Not how do I feel, not am I ready, not what if I fail, just what is the first thing I need to do? Answer it, then do it. Pick up the pen, open the document, make eye contact with one person, say the first sentence. This forces your attention onto the task and away from yourself. It sounds almost too simple to work, but this is exactly what Baumeister's and Beilock's research predicts. External task focus prevents the self-monitoring spiral that causes choking. And that's exactly why these 3 techniques work as a sequence. First, you mentally rehearse the opening so your brain has already been there. Second, you release the physical tension so your body stops sending panic signals. Third, you direct your attention outward so your mind doesn't collapse into self-monitoring. Rehearse, release, redirect. Now I saved the most interesting part for last. This is the bonus I mentioned at the beginning, and I want to be completely straight with you about it. In 2011, researchers Gerardo Ramirez and Sion Beilock published a study in the journal Science. They tested a simple intervention on students about to take a high-stakes math exam. One group sat quietly before the test. The other group spent 10 minutes writing about their specific fears and worries about the upcoming exam. Not positive affirmations, their actual fears. The result, according to the original study, was that students who were prone to test anxiety and did the writing exercise improved their scores compared to anxious students who didn't write. The University of Chicago's press release described the improvement as nearly 1 grade point, though this was for the highest anxiety subgroup specifically, not all students. Here's where it gets complicated. In 2018, a large-scale replication project called the Social Sciences Replication Project, published in Nature Human Behavior by Kammerer and colleagues, attempted to reproduce this finding along with 20 other high-profile social science studies. They used sample sizes about 5 times larger than the original. The Ramirez and Beilock study was one of 8 out of 21 that did not replicate. The replication found no significant effect. So why am I still telling you about it? 2 reasons. First, the underlying logic is solid even if this specific study didn't hold up. Your working memory has limited capacity. When you're anxious, your worries compete for space with the actual task. Writing them down is one plausible way to offload that mental clutter. Second, it costs you nothing. 10 minutes and a piece of paper. No risk, minimal effort. Here's what you can try. Before your next exam or high-pressure performance, take 10 minutes. Open a notebook or your phone. Write down everything you're worried about. Don't filter it. Don't try to be positive. Write the worst-case scenarios, the specific fears. Then close the notebook. You're not going to read it again. Think of it as clearing your desk before you start working. Whether this works for you is something you'll have to test for yourself. The science is genuinely uncertain on this one. Then run the 3-part sequence. Rehearse the opening, do the 40-second tension release, walk in and ask yourself, what is the first thing I need to do right now? Try this before your next big moment. Then drop a comment telling me what happened. I read every single one. The Soviets also had a specific system for building sustained focus that lasted hours, not minutes. Their cosmonauts used psychological techniques during marathon shifts in orbit. I'll show you what we actually know about that system in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you in that one.